Article American Exceptionalism Revisited, The Importance of Management by Sanford Jacoby is about low union rates in America and American workers against unionism. An introduction to this paper is Exceptionalism, which stresses individualism and personal achievement. A variety of factors explain the American workers' weak interest in socialism and unionism. As Jacoby states, the absence of feudalism in the United States, early mass enfranchisement, working-class heterogeneity, and resultant cleavages among workers, fluid class boundaries, high rates of social mobility, high earning levels, the frontier pressure valve, and a dominant value system that stresses individualism and personal achievement. All employers seek to maximize profits and so would prefer not to deal with unions in general. Some might choose collective bargaining even if it costs more than union avoidance, but less than the most radical alternative on the political scene. American employers are different, and David Granick pointed out in a comparative study of management in developed countries, economists were perplexed when told managers do not behave similarly when facing similar constraints. Granick found differences between French, British, and American companies in their approach to long-range investment decisions. These he attributed to national differences in management education, lawfulness with respect to taxation, attitudes towards risk, and career structures. For example, Hofstede found that American managers scored more highly than others on traits such as individualism and need for recognition, which this directly relates to the non-unionism environment in the United States. It can be assumed that the virtues in individualism and personal achievement made American managers less willing to accept collective bargaining and other goals of unionism than managers in other nations. This leads to the economics of American unions. First, the approach to collective bargaining is highly decentralized, centered on individual enterprise. 2, high job consciousness, such as working conditions, incentive wages, layoffs, even the conditions of the lunchroom. 3, union density levels in the United States are higher than any other nation. These 3 points have resulted in strong economic incentives to resist unions. The ideology behind unionism is prevalent in the American culture and shown through particular values and norms that employers found useful in mobilizing public opinion against unions. Lipset noted a few values: 1, equality, 2, individualism, and 3, achievement, which these can be traced to the face that industrial capitalism emerged in the United States without having to confront the rigid status system of feudal and aristocratic past. For example, individualism. American employers have argued that unions have to suppress individual rights either by being undemocratic. Members have to obey the order of union bosses. And then 2, achievement, or American ethos of achievement that believe that everyone should try to be successful regardless of their background. So, pre-Great Depression America was a land of high wages and upward mobility. Once the Great Depression hit, unions looked attractive due to underconsumption and other factors, which this resulted in the Wagner Act. By the mid-1930s, the success of unionism in America depended on a variety of fortuitous circumstances: the timing and severity of the Depression, the solidity of the Roosevelt administration, and the passage of bargaining law consistent with Native traditions. By the late 1940s, management and companies gained some of their self-confidence and began to take more aggressive steps to contain union inroads. So this article is directly related to the scientific management and labor relations with Taylor's scientific method, which helps him meticulously control his labor force without unionism. If unionism prevailed, his scientific management practices would be at will of the union laws and practices. So after reading this article, I have raised a few questions. What direction would the American workforce have gone without the New Deal and Wagner Act? 2, what factors made America so inclined to be an individualistic country? And 3, what factors would help make unionization more attractive nowadays?